So, again, I had all kinds of problems doing video diaries during the conference, so this is probably going to be the only one I actually do. We'll see. I might find some of the footage that I took is usable to, but I doubt it. So the video diary footage, at least. I do still intend to use the rest of it. I'm skipping ahead. Everything else I will probably do a written, detailed analysis of, except for the $1 Million Challenge. $1 Million Challenge was the very last part of the conference. We weren't allowed any kind of recording device in, so I have no personal record of it. So it's all up here, so I might as well get it while I'm going, as soon as possible. And also, it's the one part of the conference that is getting the most discussion out there in the world right now. So I'd like to weigh in, although by now most of what I have to weigh in on about is stuff that has already been said by somebody else. So for starters, I will skip a lot of the detail by linking to the JREF article that was posted today, the 27th of July, 17th of July, on the, the actual event. It was, yeah, like I said, it was the last thing. About 600 of us loaded into the room. We had all signed waivers in advance saying we'd be absolutely quiet. And if you don't know, the $1 Million Challenge is a program set up by the JREF whereby people who claim to have supernatural paranormal powers can, if they can prove them in a controlled scientific test, they can win $1 million. Nobody has ever even passed the preliminary test. And that's what this was a preliminary test. The woman's name was Connie Sonne. I think she's from Denmark, and she believes she's a Douser. She's got a crystal on a chain, and she can get information from it. I don't know her specific claim, but that's basically it. So we all walk into the room, and the protocols for the test are being broadcast on the screen, and 600 of us fit in that room. The rest have to go into overflow and watch effectively what everybody on the Ustream watched. And we watched the test. The short version, she signs the papers, she calibrates her crystal, which took about 4 minutes or so, and then with 10 cards at a time, ace through 10, each picked 3 times, each picked with a card randomly picked by the roll of a die. She had to find that card, and I think it was 3 ace 7, if I'm not mistaken, that she had to find, and each time took her between, I don't know, I'd say 4 and 7 minutes. And at the very beginning, I found myself going, oh my God, come on, do it, do it, do it. And by the end, I was kind of saying, come on, do it and get it over with. It was not particularly exciting. There was something fascinating about it, watching the process of the protocol, but it was really not very gripping. Especially when, after she had done it for all 3 groups of cards, and we went to look at the answer, she failed on the first card. She had to get 3 out of 3 to move on to the actual challenge. She failed on the first card. 1 in 1,000 chance of getting it right by chance, and she blew that. And then she had to go through the arguable indignity of having to open all of the cards that were used in the test. They were all in envelopes. She had to open them all just to prove that there was what was expected in each of those sets of cards. That's all in the article. She had incredible grace through that, and I don't think that there was a person in that room who wasn't impressed that she had the balls to stand up in front of us, a room full of skeptics, and do this test. We were all very impressed and give her a very long, respectful round of applause. Then, she does the press interview and then starts posting on the forums that Banachek cheated her. This is also in the article, so I'm not going to get into it in detail. But she basically claims that Banachek, a magician, cheated her. But he's not a sleight of hand magician. He's a mentalist magician. there's a difference. And it was all the test was all carefully designed to prevent that from even being a possibility. And she herself had approved Banachek in the first place. So all that grace, up in smoke. That's really disappointing, and shows a real lack of character, especially when you add on to that before the test, she had actually said that, and again online, that if the powers that be don't want her gifts to be shown to the world, we aren't ready to know it yet, so she won't pass the challenge. So she managed to give herself one out at the beginning of the challenge, and then change her tune and give herself a different out at the end of the challenge. I think it's just kind of dumb. And, it's kind of sad how delusional this woman is, when it comes right down to it. And on top of that, earlier in the other thing I wanted to say about this is earlier in the conference the day before, during the Skepticism in Broadcasting panel, the notion of having a skeptical cable channel was suggested, which ultimately turned into a bit of a joke amongst the panelists. But I'll get into that in my article on that when I get around to it. It's going to be a while because that's 2 days into the conference. But this test was proof positive to me that a skeptical cable channel would just be bloody awful. The test was fascinating and incredibly boring, and having to watch that kind of programming any more than once would just not hold my interest. As much as I find the intention of it very important, holy smoke, would that be boring. But yeah, I did find it fascinating. Somebody behind me fell asleep. The people in front of me started talking after she had failed, and I just felt like that, even though it certainly fit the intention, it was not right. We were told to not talk. We had signed waivers about that. Anyway, yeah, it was what it was. It was an odd, totally appropriate anticlimax in what had been a really great conference, and somewhat strange to end it on such a awkward note. I then had to head for I already had my bags. I had to head directly to the airport from there, and Paul and I did. We had less than half an hour left in the casino before we left. And I was a little jealous of the people who got to stick around for an extra day. I think maybe next year, if I go back, I will go back someday, whether it's next year or another year, I will probably take more time, both before the conference and after. A day, either side, to participate in the afternoon workshops, and to kind of wrap up my socializing on Sunday.